item, public street enclosures policy level 4 enclosure applications. I'm really happy to move this. Seconded by Andrew. Any discussion?
I didn't get an answer.
Sorry, you're asking a question on the Riverside Market.
Yeah, I put some questions in ahead of the meeting yesterday.
Sorry, I haven't. Sorry, Richard, you're at the end of the table. I presume that you've got Yanni's questions. No. Yanni, would you like to share your questions with Richard, please?
So, the three questions I had were, I was just wondering, like, obviously the Riverside Market's fantastic. It's really popular and well used. I was just trying to understand, I wasn't quite clear from the report around that the paving that's there, who takes responsibility for the maintenance? So I was trying to understand, does our maintenance budget get reduced and they pick up the cost of maintaining the expensive paving? And if so, or do we get additional revenue that then goes into maintaining it? I wasn't clear on that. That was probably the biggest concern, but the other concern was just to understand from a value add point of view to the development, I guess what that does in terms of rentable space. Does it enable more space to be rented at a higher value? And is our charging in accordance with that? Or how do we work out what's a fair assessment?
Answer to the second question is yes, we do charge them for that, the same as we charge anyone else. I can't speak to how we go about doing that, but it's a consistent charge across the central city for people who are using part of the public space, whether it be roads or something else.
Right.
So yes, we do charge them for that.
But the concern, obviously, this is quite different to what's currently permitted in our policy. The structure is more significant.
Yeah, the charge is still the same as I understand it, but it's not dissimilar to what you'd see outside the terraces, for instance, where the design is different because you haven't got the 2.5 metre space adjacent to the terraces. However, when you look at where the buildings finish and then the enclosures go into the Oxford Terrace area, that's not dissimilar to what this might look like. But the point I'd like to stress in this is that these are conceptual plans, and we're still working through exactly what the final designs might look like with the Riverside representatives. So hence the reason why we've sought that council delegate authority to the head of transport, as opposed to, because these things might be modified through discussions with Riverside reps. So it's conceptual. Will look something like this, but perhaps not exactly the same.
Right. And the maintenance issues?
So in terms of maintenance, we maintain Oxford Terrace as it's part of the transport network. So it falls under the HEBs do the central city streets, so it would fall under their contract for doing that. We do have an agreement, a broad agreement with Riverside around a whole range of different things, as we do other parts of the central city. So we work collaboratively with them and others to ensure that we get the best outcomes for the city.
So, is the section that they're leasing or have a license to occupy will basically come under their maintenance regime? So I presume that's a part of that we're not current with, that we wouldn't maintain. So
in terms of say for rubbish and other things, so we manage the rubbish bins, which are outside. We've got some big belly type bins out there, plus some normal bins. We manage those. They would manage something like rubbish, which is left on their tables. So that's something that they would do. So there's components that they would manage, and there's components that we would manage.
I guess what I was really interested in is it's very expensive paving that's been put down here.
Yep.
And just to ensure that there's adequate maintenance occurring in the stuff that's licensed to occupy, but obviously it needs to be of a certain standard or consistent, and it needs to probably include, I think we had to depreciate it, I'm not sure, but I know at the time there was concern raised about the ongoing cost of maintenance. So I just would hope that that's factored into whatever agreement and maintenance regime is put in place.
So in terms of what we charge them, as I mentioned, we'll be charging them the same as we do other central city businesses who occupy public space. In terms of maintaining the transport asset underneath that would still fall within our obligation. However, if they were to damage that, then that would be a conversation that we would have with them.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Mike?
Thank you. Look, I think the conceptual drawings are good, but is this actually the reality of what we're going to see? And I guess under this level, they can actually have it fully enclosed, this public space.
So, look, as we've tried to outline in the report, the outdoor dining is regulated by the Public Places Bylaw and the Public Street Enclosures Policy 2006. That policy is currently up for review. The way that policy is structured is you have levels 1, 2 and 3, which are delegated to Head of Transport or the CE. So this is what we call a level 4 enclosure because it doesn't fit within the policy, and hence we are seeking council approval. So that is something where it may be fully enclosed, but I don't believe that is their intention, and as that's part of the conversation we need to have with the Riverside representatives about what parts of it would be fully enclosed, if indeed they are. So the intention would be that from their perspective, if you look at towards this direction, so to the west, they might want that fully enclosed for parts of the year or parts of the day, particularly when there's inclement weather, and so that to provide for outdoor dining. But there's going to be foot traffic between the building per se and the outdoor dining area across the 2.5 metre strip. So you wouldn't really want that part fully enclosed. So that's a discussion that we need to have with them about their intent. The south part, I think, and northern parts are slightly different again. So, but to answer your point around, yes, does it enable that? That would be the intention of the council delegation to the Head of Transport today, and that would be the detail that we would negotiate with the Riverside reps about the how and the when and what would it look like.
Sarah, question?
Thanks. From the drawings, which look gorgeous, it does look like there's a significant narrowing of that just normal pedestrian thoroughfare kind of space. Once you've got a sort of more permanent kind of structure there. That's still technically a drivable space too, and I'm assuming loading vehicles and things will be coming in within the set hours. What risk is there to damage to not just their structure, but people, but the rain gardens, those kind of things? We often see, the corfi trees are being knocked by a truck, those kind of things where there's no comeback. Ratepayers have to pay for that. And with the significant narrowing, what are the risks to that kind of stuff?
So you're not talking about the 2.5 metre strip adjacent to the building itself. You're talking about the
4 metre.
The 4 metre area slightly to the west of where they want the outdoor dining. Yeah. So look, we really don't want vehicles. It is a public road, but we don't want vehicles going through there because it is heavily pedestrianised, and sometimes there's quite a bit of other furniture there from Riverside.
Yeah.
There is loading spaces outside on Litchfield Street, so we encourage the loading of goods and for that to occur on Litchfield Street as opposed to, because it's very close to Riverside and they can get access around the back, as opposed to trucks driving up and down that strip. It's not something we try and encourage, but at the moment council's having that conversation around Oxford Terrace and what hours it is currently open, and that'll be a decision of council as to when the whole of Oxford Terrace will be open for delivery vehicles, because at the moment it's quite... But
this particular section's much narrower.
It is narrower, but trucks
and
can
especially
still...
with the new structure and stuff in.
That 4 metre strip will still be kept as a 4 metre strip, so vehicles could still negotiate it, but it is certainly getting very busy when you look at all the other stuff which is potentially spilling out onto it. So look, it's not something we encourage, but currently they can legally use that. So
I'm just concerned that if you get to the point of actually enclosure, there's nowhere for pedestrians to go. There's the rain gardens on one side, there's an enclosure on the other side, and a truck going past. There's no way for them to actually move either side.
Yeah, so you've still got the 2.5 metre strip adjacent to the building, and then you've got the ag rock adjacent to
But if
Friendship
it's
Park.
enclosed, you can't get to that 2.5 metre strip.
But there's still walkway, the whole area wouldn't be enclosed, there'd be walkways along there.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be a sheltered walkway.
Right, we'll move on to the debate and I'll open that up. I was actually looking forward to this item on the agenda more than any other item on the agenda today. It has a very practical application, which it says this doesn't qualify for policy under our existing policy, so can you please delegate it to the head of transport to decide whether to approve the licence? Go for it, Richard. You've got my full blessing. I just think that it's a fantastic thing. Riverside has transformed the central city. It has made it an exciting destination, an amazing place to go. And I went past there over the Easter weekend, and it was just jam-packed with people. There were thousands of people poured into the area, just enjoying themselves on a beautiful, beautiful, hot, sunny weekend. So I just am incredibly grateful to what Richard Peebles and Mike Pekaski and the rest of the team have done down there. I trust the organisation to do the right thing in relation to this licensing arrangement. It's an important decision, but it's one that can be made by delegation, and that's going to make it a much more direct relationship between the organisation and the Riverside market, and that's going to make a real difference. So thank you very much for the paper. Tim and then Sarah.
Yeah, just for a moment there, I kind of thought, you know, like listening to the questions, why would you do business in Christchurch? But I'd have to say this is fantastic. I totally agree with the Mayor, and I think it's best left with staff, and good luck. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I completely agree. My concerns over the impact are to do with the volume of cars down there. So outside in this space on Oxford Terrace, there used to be a lot of on-street car parking. And Riverside is one of the best examples in the entire city as to why it's actually best to remove the on-street parking, because you get a much greater pedestrian amenity. You know, this was built in a space where they knew that there would be no on-street car parking. There's off-street car parking available nearby. And it really does show the contrast about what is possible when you focus on people and people space. And it really highlights the lost opportunity that we have just seen in High Street.
Andrew. Andrew?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, if there's one thing that's been a game changer in the development of the central city, it's Riverside. And we see the large number of people sitting outside there on the grass and chairs and tables and consuming food that they've bought from Riverside and generally enjoying themselves and creating an excellent atmosphere right in the heart of the central city. If there's one thing that we know about Christchurch, it's that it's a city with 4 seasons, and that we know outdoor dining operates very differently in the winter than it does in the summertime, which involves the need for creating some pseudo indoor space, areas where there can be heating, shelter, and so on. I'm sure that under the delegation that we're giving Richard, assuming this passes, he will fully take into account any conflict between or any opportunity for pedestrians, cyclists and motor vehicle movement. And I absolutely agree that what we are doing here is creating a space for people, but certainly listening to the answers to questions, there should be space for all of those activities to take place safely at the same time as making this an attractive year-round destination for outdoor dining and outdoor use. So I'm excited about this, but I also understand the concerns. Very confident, Richard, that you will take account of all of the things that have been raised as you exercise the delegation that hopefully we're about to give you.
Mike, and then who was the other one? No one? Just
Thank
Mike.
you. And look, on face value, when you look at what's in front of us, the conceptual drawings, it actually looks like a really good outcome. I am concerned, though, of actually what potentially it could become once you start enclosing this space. I mean, we're starting, I guess, seeing a creep of, private business taking over the public realm, which does concern me. And then also the adverse effect of actually starting to squeeze more people into a smaller corridor and what actually effect that will have. So I like what's in front of me, but I am very concerned about actually where this could be heading for the city.
Phil and Pauline.
The Riverside guys have created a fantastic asset for Christchurch, and if we can help for the whole city, and if we can help them by delegating Richard to do this, I just think go hard. It's good. So more and faster.
Pauline?
I agree. And the way they've thought out this design, including the movable planters and the lighting and the louvers that'll open and close, I just think that they do things really well. I think I'm happy to delegate it to Richard because he seems like a pretty reasonable sort of bloke here, so I think he would do it all right. And just a call out there to Ben and Jerry's. If you haven't tried the vegan ice cream, you're missing out on something. It is amazing. So I'll be supporting this today.
Okay, Aaron?
Yeah, I'll be supporting it, and I would encourage you to try the Cherry Garcia rather than the vegan. It's the better ice cream. But that aside, picking up on Mike's point, if this is what business creeping into the public space looks like, let's hope that happens a lot more around the city because there's a lot of dead public space.
Right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much. On to the Mayor's monthly report.